Cool. All right. So, welcome back, everybody. We're super excited to have on, and please do not be mad at me if I butcher the pronunciation, because I was going in my head, is it Tara or Tara? I forgot. I'm going to go, okay, can I go
Tara?
Tara?
Sorry, no, Tara.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, I lost the coin. You can end the conversation now if you like. But
okay, bye.
Yeah, seriously. Well, Tara, thanks so much for agreeing to come on. Pretty excited. And as always, before we dive into the topics, anything like that, we like to start it off with a fun fact. So I don't know if you know this, but the smallest town in the U.S., which has a population of 1, it's actually a little known city in Nebraska known as. She's the bartender, the librarian, the mayor. Yeah, oh, unique. Who knew? Just found that out. But
so
yeah, seriously, a little tidbit for you. But while everybody's kind of thinking about that as far as their next travel destination post-corona, which is Manawa, Nebraska, and they're not paying me for this, everyone. Give me a little bit of taste, background into who you are, and it's just something about yourself that I think most people wouldn't know right off the bat when they meet you.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just give an introduction, and then I can say what people don't know about me, if that works for you.
Perfect.
Yeah, so as you said, my name's Tara Williams. I'm the Southern California campus recruiter for a mid-sized accounting firm that's based in California. It's called Armanino. So I've only been at the firm for about 8 months, and prior to that, I was in the accounting industry. And so this is a career change for me, and I love it so much. It's so great. And then I had to call my mom to think about facts about me that people don't know. So I think that my friends know this to some extent, but maybe not as far as it goes. But I am obsessed with true crime. And so I listen to podcasts. I watch Law and Order SVU every night as I'm falling asleep. It relaxes me and it scares me. So
SVU
yeah,
relaxes you. That's that's a mic drop of a statement.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Tara, I am super excited to kind of have this workshop, learn from you, as I'm sure all our listeners are. Now I'm second guessing myself every time I say Tara. So if I flip my
think
tongue,
of it as I tell people Tara piece of paper. So just that's how you remember Tara, I think.
Tara. Okay.
That
I'm still frightened. I don't know why. But all right, Tara. So I've come to you, right? And something I find really challenging right now, and my boss has kind of said this, is we are really having a hard time connecting with students on a deeper level. I feel like I'm not engaging them well enough. So I don't know. What am I doing wrong? Like, steer me in the right direction, please.
Sure. So I love talking about relationship building and engagement and learning about that too. So I think about it in 2 different ways. So there's engaging and attracting students, and then there's building long-lasting relationships. And so so with the engaging and attracting students, I have a little story, and it might sound off topic, but I will get back to the point. But so as I mentioned, I was in accounting and I used to be in tax, and I got promoted from a staff level, which is like entry level, to senior. And it's a big jump. You end up training staff below you, and you train upwards and downwards and sometimes upwards. So it's a big role. And so once I did that, I realized that when you get promoted, you kind of forget what people know below you. Like, you think that they just know more than they do. And so I would really try to get on their level and really just meet them where they're at and train them, and really ask them, like, do you understand what X, Y, and Z is? Like, just because they get a job in an accounting firm doesn't mean that they know what they're doing. And so now with the transition to campus recruiting, I try to do the same thing with students. I don't have staff anymore, but with students, the recruiting process is so hard and so complicated and fast-paced, and some of them are transfer students and just get thrown into it. And so I really try to get on their level and just define what a summer leadership program is. I try to help them understand what the different departments are so that they have they don't feel so stressed out about which one to choose, because that's a huge decision. Just being in school and deciding your career right out of college and you're like a sophomore. So I really try to meet them where they're at. And then with the engagement part, I really try to be as raw as I can. And it helps that I was in the accounting industry, so I can share a lot of personal stories. And usually I'm not highlighting the best parts of what I did on the job. I try to let them know that I made mistakes, and you can make mistakes, and that's okay. And I also try to be transparent. The job is, accounting anyway, is super hard. And so I don't want to put that in a negative light, but I also don't want to tell them it's rainbows and butterflies and it's going to be this amazing, amazing job where you don't have to work hard. And so that I found people come up to me after presentations and they'll be like, thank you for being so transparent and so honest. I really appreciate that. And then the building relationships piece, I think I just try to go the extra mile and grab coffee or lunch with them. If they ask, I don't try to push that or anything, it's not too far out of the way. I try to schedule it when I'm on their campus, because my personal time is also valuable to me, but I'll try to, connect with them and help them where I can. And also I try to be a career coach as much as I can be, instead of just a recruiter who's just helping get that certain job. Like, at the end of the day, I want them to come to the firm that I work at because I like it and I want them to like it too. But there's a place for everyone, and my company may not be that, but I still want them to succeed. So I think that, and building relationships, you don't have to be like best friends with them. You just want to check in on them, see how they're doing, and keep in touch or talk to them if you see them at events. And so that's what I try to do, to try to initially get them to feel comfortable with me and then stay friends or acquaintances with them long term.
Yeah, I think something that just stood out immediately is I could see that from a candidate's perspective, how you balance being raw, but also at the same time, it's welcoming, right? It's not like you're a Debbie Downer by any means. In fact, quite the opposite. You're, in a weird way, like, you being authentic actually gets people more excited. And I just want to make sure I heard you correctly, so that when I go back, I'm kind of doing what you're doing and modeling some of those same techniques. Is first, knowing that students don't know everything, right? And what I heard was, yes, we work in a specific industry, but that does not mean that it's reflected from the student's point of view, where it's so, second nature for them to understand the same acronyms or the same jargon, for them to know that. So if I work in tech, they may not understand all the little nitty-gritty details. So just kind of humanizing and letting go of the buzzwords is what I got. And then the second thing is going that extra mile. But when you do that, painting that realistic picture so that they can assess for themselves whether or not that career or that role might be right for them, as well as our company. Because you're right, you want to be that coach as opposed to a recruiter who's just trying to sell them on the job. Is that kind of the two big facets there I understood you correctly on? Yeah,
you summarized it great. So yeah, that's exactly what I would say. Yeah.
Got it. And the career coach aspect, that's a very unique take. I think it's one of those things that I find most recruiters that I talk to in this community setting, they aspire to be that, but everybody at the end of the day, when you're in the trenches, when you're in the peak of campus recruiting, you're just trying to fill those numbers, at least for me, right? Like that's what I see in execution. So, how have you kind of balanced that? Like, that does take a lot of time to make sure that I'm taking care of candidates coming in, but at the same time, I want to ensure that we're filling our roles, filling that pipeline. So any tips or tricks that you found really successful? You're 8 months in, anything that you're even curious to try, at least for this upcoming fall, or even the next year, as far as how you can balance being a coach, but also someone that can execute heavily in this role?
Yeah, for sure. It's career coach kind of sounds like, a whole different job, and it might take like so much time. But what I mean by that is just being a resource for the students. So like at the firm, I do presentations and I do, the normal stuff like office hours and like, I'm trying to think, we have interviews and all, but like during those events, you can have touch points with the students that will really make them feel valued. So after presentations, I'll stay for like, honestly, like an hour, and I'll stay and I'll talk to them. I know a lot of people stay for like 20 minutes and they're like, bye, but
yeah, seriously, I got traffic to beat.
yeah. I think that I try to build it into my day as something that's valuable to me. So I'll sit there and I'll talk with them. And if there's some students that are interested in building deeper relationship than just talking to me after an event, then they'll be like, hey, you want to get coffee? And I'll just be like, sure. I'll leave buffer time to like talk to them like after a presentation or something. So I make sure I kind of time it right. But then also I have office hours where I just like pre-interview office hours, where I set that up and I, try to talk to them about what they're specifically nervous about, what they need help with, what their resume needs help with. And yeah, I just try to talk to them, and I don't tell them what to do or what decision to make, but I just try to encourage them and be there and be a sounding board for them, because I went through that same process. And I don't know if every campus recruiter has gone through, like, I know that not everyone has worked in the field that they're in, but I went through the accounting recruiting process, which is super stressful. It's like another job. It's like a full-time job. So I want to be there for them, and it's like big life decisions, and it doesn't take a lot of extra work, just acting like you care, like just giving individualized help, and not just being like, okay, this is my job and I'm just trying to fill roles and that's it. So I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah.
No, I like, it's, when you say that, I think, the reason it may sound obvious to you is because it comes second nature, but when you hear it, and some of these reminders I think are very necessary, because in the day-to-day of this role, sometimes you forget that. You forget that these are just students willing to take that big leap, and they are relying on you for guidance, for what they believe is a true guidance. And especially now, I think fall semester, where there's so much ambiguity, right? For a lot of students going back, the senior year that they expected is really no more. The market that they expected, really no more. A lot of things that they expected is really no more. And you now have to come in and be that person, and kind of step up in that challenge. From what I'm hearing from you is to be that person that just puts in that little extra effort, as opposed to only staying for 20 minutes, but instead giving, time for an hour, making it productive. Because I think that's what's going to separate anybody right now. It's just caring. Sounds obvious, but like I think we need more of that now than ever. Is kind of some of the notes that I'm taking away. So I think I've kind of got a good chunk of what I need to execute on. First is letting go of the idea that students that are coming into work for my industry understand a lot of the jargon that we use on a day-to-day level. So for accounting specifically, they may not know that. So I need to kind of humanize a lot of the language that I talk to make sure everybody is on the same playing field. Second, is just building that authentic relationships with the candidates, going that extra mile. And then the last thing is becoming that trusted advisor for them, and knowing that it shouldn't be a transactional relationship where I'm just trying to fill a role, but instead I serve as that person that can guide them in the right direction, whether it's my firm or somewhere else. Anything else you'd like to add to the spectrum? Because I think that is great advice.
Yeah, no, that was good. I was going to say, you asked me going forward, how would you be that advisor? Since, I've been at this role for 8 months, and I'm like looking forward on how I can continue to be that. And I think right now, especially, everything is just about communication. We hear it all the time. And it doesn't have to be like, some students I text and I check in on them, and it doesn't even have to be that, but just, if you have to push start dates, or if you have to change the structure of the internship, like pick up the phone, give them a call, don't just send them an email. Ask them if they have any questions. They can always reach out to you if they need to. You might not have all the answers, but you can try. So I think, picking up the phone, talking to them, emailing them, keeping them informed is all they're looking for right now. I mean, it's a scary time. So yeah, that's what I would say. And one more thing, going back to not assuming things, that students know certain things. I would think it's students don't know everything about the job that they're seeking and the industry they're going into, but also the recruiting process in general. Some of them have never done an interview. Some of them are new to the school and they just don't know how this works. So really educating them on the recruiting process and the field that they're going into will really help them.
That's a really good point, especially, I correct me if I'm wrong, but for the accounting industry where the recruiting process starts a lot earlier with a lot of these leadership programs where you're snatching up sophomores or even freshmen even that may not have gotten through that. No, that's a really good point. And thinking about the end person that we're trying to convey to either come work for our firm or somewhere else. Well, this was awesome. Loved it. Like I said, we try to cap it, right? Short and sweet. Thank you for coming on. I learned a whole lot, and I think I'm kind of ready to execute on all of these principles moving forward. So thanks again, Tara.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
There you go. And I got the name right. Apologies again, please. I'm glad you didn't end the podcast, right. But I got it right. Tara, there you go. Never forget it again. But thank you again.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you.